Was Qatar 2022 an opportunity missed, or a glorious failure where England come out with reputations enhanced?
Again, everything's about how you characterise something. We spoke about it at the back end of last week, and we talked about the nature of what this would be if we didn't beat the French. And we used the word failure. And I pushed back against the idea it would be a failure, it would be a disappointment. And of course, if we went into this game and competed against a French side that on paper, or in our mind's eye, we thought were a very compelling side, when you see the game unfold in front of you, and you see the opportunity that in my eyes was missed, and I don't just mean the missing of a penalty, I mean the opportunity that was missed in the game itself. We were a better side than France. And so with that in mind, I think the overriding aspect that I take away from it is disappointment. I take away an opportunity undeniably missed. We can't keep writing scripts that give passes to suggestions that when we beat sides that we should beat, that's compelling. And when we lose to sides that maybe we shouldn't win against, that's an explanation. We've done okay. We spend our life eulogising and waxing lyrical about the domestic powerhouses, the Premier League, the superstars we've got in our team. And we talk about teams that have gone in the past and the camaraderie of this team. Well, the 2002 Sven-Goran Eriksson team was a team bound together by different things, a product of its time. It might have had wags and all that crappy culture, but it was still a team that was cohesive and had a chance in a World Cup and lost to a Brazilian side. And you look at this side, and we talk about this generation that Gareth Southgate has created. When you get an England under 21 manager in, he brings young players through. And young players shouldn't be difficult to manage. They shouldn't be difficult to inspire. We have undeniably, irrefutably, missed an opportunity. This World Cup was there to be won. Yes, it was an intriguing game. It wasn't a great game. It was an intriguing game because the jeopardy in the game was so much.
Yeah,
and there was so much tension. But yet again, we started a game for 30 minutes where we seem to be in a situation where we allow a team to impose upon us and themselves upon us. Then we wake up and we take the game to them for 45 minutes and make them look ordinary and give ourselves chances and put ourselves in the way of an opportunity to win a game. And then when the balance of the game changes, we don't change. We don't look like we're going to go and try and win a game. We stay with what we've got. Now, you can disseminate all that information and say, where's that landing at? It's landing at Gareth Southgate's door. I think he's done lots of wonderful things in the last 6 years. I think when you start with a team that's been inherited from the Sam Allardyce fiasco, with a team that came out of a European Championships on the back of a horror story that Roy Hodgson presided over, and your expectations are low, you're going to have some real talent to take that further down. You're going to be in an even position to be able to take it forward. And we've built. And over 3 tournaments, we have never beaten anybody that we should have beaten. That we shouldn't have beaten, in terms of we've beaten everybody that on paper we would beat. Who in this tournament did we beat that we couldn't beat? The Senegalese, well, they on paper someone we were going to lose to? No, nobody thought that.
So you came out of the group and you were damn sure you were going to beat Iran. You
Absolutely.
You thought you'd take care of the USA.
Well, of course.
And you would beat Wales.
Of
so
course.
you came out of the group as expected.
As expected.
Winners.
In the same way we did in the Euros.
And then the African champions, Senegal. Not too much of a test, but you beat them.
But we beat them. And if you'd have asked every Englishman, and people will say arrogant, stupid Englishmen that think they're going to win everything, but most people would have said the balance of probability, and football people as well, not just the punters like us that watch it, but the people in the game, the football managers and the players would have suggested, we're going to beat Senegal. So where's our first test? Where was our first test in the European Championship? You can write the script about the Germans, but the Germans were absolute rubbish in the European Championship, and so it's proven in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Now, people will suggest that Gareth Southgate needs to be given... he's not going anywhere, is he? He's only going to go somewhere by his own volition, because the FA took it upon themselves to give him a contract before he participated in a tournament.
Which you thought was wrong.
Well, of course it's wrong. It's preposterous. The fella should be given contracts on the basis of tournaments. And if people want to suggest that this was a compelling tournament and that England did something remarkable, well, that's for them to suggest that. I think they did, on paper. I mean, Stuart Pearce talked about mental strength. With the greatest respect in the world, mental strength would have put that ball in the back of the net from Harry Kane. A good fight isn't one you put up, Jim. A good fight is one you win. And we put up good fights.
Would a quarter-final exit have been acceptable before the tournament?
Well, on paper, yes, it would have been, because if you knew that we knew when we sat there with Martin Keown's ridiculous wall chart and plotted it through to the situation where we said we're probably going to land with the French. If the groups go the way they should do and people do what they should do, we're going to land with the French. And on paper, we sit there and we say, well, if we put up a reasonable performance, it's not going to be a bad one. And then the game unfolds and you look at it and you say, they're all right, French, but they ain't great. They can't defend. They're terrified of us if we put ourselves in the way of an opportunity. Maybe Harry Kane stopped playing centre midfield and maybe played centre forward. Maybe the beautiful balls in from Luke Shaw would be in the back of the net rather than... But maybe if we could beat players, maybe if we had a player like Mbappe that goes past players rather than players with great respect to the potential that Phil Foden and Saka have, never seem to beat a player. So I look at it and say,
massive opportunity missed.
oh, I mean, it can't not be. I watched the build-up before the game, and all of a sudden the media reporting all these negative headlines as if they weren't actually the people that put them out there, because we're building this backstory that Saint Gareth is going to be the saviour. Gareth Southgate has done lots of things well, but English football is in the business of trying to win things, isn't it? Not because we're arrogant, not because it's an entitlement, not because it's bleeding coming home, but because why shouldn't it be? Why should the Moroccans be in the semi-final of a World Cup? Why should the Greeks have won a European Championship back in 2004, or whenever it was? Why shouldn't we, as a nation that's getting draws that you would go on bended knee for, and then come up against opposition and overcome them once? I would have been singing a vastly different song today if we'd have overcome it. I'd have gone every argument I've had, every perceived criticism, which I've always felt was fair criticism of Gareth Southgate. I don't go into the feast campaign and I don't go into the famine campaign. Somewhere in the middle is where it is, right? But I'm not going to laud him as Saint Gareth Southgate, and I'm not going to turn around and say he's absolute crap either.
Are you surprised that it's being painted elsewhere in such an optimistic light? Well, with such positivity.
But do you know what they used to say about Crystal Palace, the team I used to own? It's a great team, a great deal. It's always got potential. Well, potential is something eventually you have to deliver upon. Otherwise, it ain't potential. It's just nothing. It's just people operating in a sort of vortex. We'll now talk about, we've got a group of young players. We've had groups of young players for years. We need to win. Turning up is not what football and sport is about. Winning is what it's about. And this nation of constantly patronising the underdog, we should all look at that and say, did we play well against the Iranians? OK, they were poor and we did the job to them. Against the USA, we were run off the pitch by the USA and made to look very pedestrian. We sat there, you and I, pulling our hair out, and you even as a Scotsman. Against the Welsh, I mean, how bad did the Welsh have to be for us to beat them?
I know.
And the Senegalese were a naive side. So here we are, landing in the same space, and I come away thinking, I don't think he should be fired. I think they've given him a job. Who's the replacement? Anyone can fire somebody. It's not difficult. Just fire them. Who are we going to replace him with then? What's the alternative? Is it Pochettino? Maybe if Pochettino was available, even though I don't think he's the greatest manager in sliced bread, but he's a dynamic manager. The first 30 minutes of a game wouldn't be sat there pontificating about what the opposition's going to do to us. It would be, let's hit somebody hard and let's see if they breathe in.